What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about OnyxCoin today, XCN USD. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it. It is the 20th day of October. Here we are sitting at about $0.009 right now with 9 hours, 42 minutes left in the day. A little volatility on the day, right? We've moved up, we moved down, whatever. We're here at a neutral kind of stance at the moment. I do believe that we have found our low, or we're very, very near our low at the very least, but I think that we have found our low. Is this the higher low to count on? Do we have lower lows to go? We'll figure all that out by the end of this video, but I want to start off actually looking at the weekly time frame, because I think where we are here, again, the short-term stuff is fun, right? Do we go lower? Do we go higher? Whatever we're doing here. But the reality is we're about to rip through the roof. We're about to see the breakout of this overall phase that we've been in since the end of January, right? Reality is I'm thinking today in the long term, because where we are right now is a very critical, pinnacle, focal point of a moment in XCN's history where we begin to move higher, where we do break out of this, right? We are closer. Well, what I'm trying to say is that we are closer to the end of this consolidation phase than we ever have been, right? And it's so close that we can taste it, right? It's about to end, and I think it's important to kind of look on the weekly time frame and see if we can see those signs, right? Typically, whenever you're at the end of a long consolidation phase, there are signs that you're ready to move up higher, right? Or move lower if you're going to break out and move lower. Signs like this. We're here. We were consolidating for a very long time, very boring, very slowly bleeding down, right? And then there were signs, weren't there? There were signs here. There were signs here even, right here, this very bullish accumulating triangle, that we were going to break out and see some fantastic growth. And who would have guessed that we'd go up this high? But at the very least, something above this high would have called for higher prices at the very least, right? Very long-term consolidation at the base of a very pronounced downward move, right? You would expect some kind of bullish price action to ensue afterwards, right? Here we are at the very base of a long phase of consolidation. We've got a double bottom going on, okay? And it's a true double bottom, true to the word, true to the name there, double bottom. And maybe not on this chart, but on the Coinbase chart, the only exchange that I feel like actually has reliable data whenever it comes to what happened on the 10th, we have a double bottom there. We had a very proper reaction off of that low, and we're just, in the grand scheme of things, I think we're at a point where it makes sense that we're at our low and we're going to move up higher, right? The signs are here with the weekly time frame, with the weekly candle like this, closing like this with a very big wick to the upside, or to the downside, I suppose. What is this? Why is that there? Data issue. Interesting. What's the data issue, I wonder? And here I was talking about it. I wonder, that might just be a glitch. We look at the weekly time frame. We look for other indications, right? We look at our RSI being at some of the lowest points that it's been at since our last low here, right? Before we started to really turn things around. The stochastics are the weakest that they've been since this low point back here. And actually, I would even say weaker than that, right? We're overdue. We've got higher lows building in the stochastics here. Low here, higher low, higher low. We've got low here, lower low, lower low in the prices. Bullish divergence building right there. We've got bullish divergence building and printed on the MACD, where we have higher lows here and we have lower lows there. The signs are there that we're ready to turn around, you guys. Right? If you're listening, if you're paying attention, you'll benefit from that soon enough. And again, looking at the magnitude, looking at the moves that we've dealt with overall, let's imagine for right now. Let's just imagine. Let's be very conservative, like very, very conservative, unrealistically conservative to what my expectations are for what OnyxCoin is going to do. Let's just imagine that this was a fluke. Okay. Every other time that OnyxCoin is pumped this cycle, we've seen a 140% week here, where from a low to a high, we actually saw 223% in 1 week. Here, in the course of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, we moved up that same percentage, essentially 253% in 6 weeks. 6 weeks from now, it'll be the end of November. Imagine we're up only, and I doubt that we're up only this much, but imagine we're up only 250%, 220% by the end of November. That would put us at 3 cents or more, right? So even what I'm saying here, I'm not saying that I expect us to be here by the end of November. I'm just saying even in these times, whenever OnyxCoin was moving before the massive pump here, before this massive pump here, we were moving up 200% in 1 week, or 250% in 6 weeks, right? And by that same magnitude, we could expect to see a 3.3 cent OnyxCoin as early as, or as late as, I should say, the end of November. And that'd be a very conservative, pessimistic terrible outcome, genuinely. What's crazy is we're talking about a 3.5x in 6 weeks as if it's a bad thing, right? Because I don't expect us to interact. I don't expect the price action to move up as it did here, as it did here, as it did here. I expect what we're going to get, and again, looking at this in the long term, is that what we're going to get is a move that represents breaking out of this range overall. Like whenever we broke out of this range overall, we had a move that properly represented that. Not only are we going to get a move that represents breaking out of this range, but a move that represents the continuation of what we started back here at the end of 2024 and the beginning of this year, 2025. So my thoughts are, no, we're probably not going to see 3 cents or 4 cents by the end of November. We're probably going to see something a lot larger. I was just saying for fun, or maybe not for fun at all, imagine that this was a fluke. We can still depend on higher prices in a very timely fashion, right? By the end of the year, I would very much expect, regardless of how fast we move, I would expect that we are above this high, right? I very much do believe that by the end of the year, we're going to see an XCN worth 26 to 32 cents. We're going to see it all the way up here, right? If not earlier than just like the end of December, it could be by the end of November. Again, the move that I'm expecting that we're going to see is probably going to be more akin to this move here, this very large move that we saw here, than any other move. Will it be as large? Time will tell. Will it be larger? Time will tell. We'll see. But from a low here to a high in a 2-week period, if we were to take this from our current low there, that would put us all the way up at 15.7 cents. And I don't think that we're going to see this in 2 weeks. I think that in 2 months we will see this and beyond there. But I think that this is a fair representation of what we could expect to see at a minimum is 15.7 cents to 32 cents. That's the expectation overall that we're looking for at this point in time, right? By the end of the year. Inevitably, and of course, by the end of the cycle, I believe that we will not only see 32 cents, but we will see 53 cents, $1.03, more than that, beyond that, right? I think as long as we're up in this area by the end of the year, we should have no problem seeing $1 and beyond by the end of the cycle. But the end of cycle targets that we have are all the way up at $1.03 to $2.60. Likely we don't stop at $2.60. Likely we don't stop at $1.03, but somewhere in between. That's the expectation there. Okay. And again, just kind of tying all this thought together. What would be a good move? What move would be a good move to represent something that's been consolidating for 10 months or 9 months, however long? I guess if it's October 20th, it would be 10 or 9 months, I think, right? Because from January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, 9 months, yeah. What move would represent that? What move would represent a breakout of this range and then also potentially a breakout to new all-time highs? What kind of move would represent that? I think it would be a very big move, right? It's like what kind of move represents a rounded bottom, double bottom pattern off of a massive, massive sell-off. It's going to be a pretty massive move as well. So I think that we're going to see some fireworks fly over the coming weeks. Your days are numbered, bears. Your days are numbered, pessimistic bulls. We've got a lot of growth to go in a very short amount of time. And then again, looking at the indicators here, I think that the writing's on the wall. Bullish divergence on 2 of your weekly indicators, same levels that we were at last time we found support earlier this cycle. It makes a lot of sense to me. And overall, these indicators are bullish. They are very bullish, actually. The stochastics, to be fair, overall are bearish, but the RSI, which is more important, I think, is overall bullish, and so is the MACD. Looking at the daily time frame, zooming in now, looking at the 1 hour time frame, actually. Let's see if the RSI wants to load. Hello, there we are. So the RSI is finding resistance twice at the overbought zone. That's never a good thing. That's not what we want to see. Typically in that kind of situation, you would expect to come down. It is very possible that we do break below this kind of ascending trend line here, and that we would find prices, somewhere at 0.009 or even lower than that. So brace yourselves for that. I know that it's not that far away. It's nothing to really concern ourselves with, but we do have bearish divergence here. In all fairness, though, we do have higher highs there on a closing basis, lower highs here. That is bearish divergence, but we've already seen that move come to light, I should say. We still have higher lows here. We could turn around here. I'm not seeing it. I think the stochastics and the RSI would make me think that we go lower, but we could turn around here. The MACD, let's see. MACD would suggest that we can go lower and still look good as well. So I think overall we are moving higher overall. I just think for the time being, we'd probably move back down to about 0.0089, 0.009, somewhere in that zone, find support, and then continue to move higher. That's my thoughts. 4 hour time frame here. Looking at this, we are finding resistance at the same areas that we found resistance before. Stochastics are a little bit bearish here, lower highs, higher highs there, and the MACD The MACD looks good. I mean, it looks like it wants to come up. Overall, right now, it's kind of bearish, right? We're below the zero, but you look like you want to come up, and I would think that we do break above this zero. Maybe not right now. Maybe there is some turbulence, right? But sometime this week, I would think that we do break out. Again, we have the FOMC meeting on the 29th, the announcement that they're going to cut interest rates by 25 basis points, likely 25 basis points, okay? That's this day here. I would assume XCN, like most cryptos, will probably be growing into this announcement. Even if we come down, whatever, like we're going to be growing into this announcement. That's my expectation. So we should be back well above 1 cent by that time. That's my expectation, but we'll see. And XCN, whenever it moves, whenever it does decide to move, it moves very fast. We can see here that all these moments, these are just fat finger moments where somebody's accumulating, somebody or multiple somebodies are accumulating some XCN at these low levels. Whenever the supply is dried up, whenever it's time to go, we're going to teleport. We're literally going to teleport. It's going to seem unbelievable to some people, but it's also going to be something that we've long anticipated. So it'll be like, finally it's happening. But patience pays in this game, man. It really does. 4-hour stochastics look bullish overall, to be fair, but a little bit of bearish divergence here. The RSI is taking on a bullish posturing, that's for sure, especially when compared to the price. The MACD is the one thing that we're excited about as far as breaking above the zero goes. I think that all these indicators can afford to come down or find some stagnation for a moment and then come back up later, maybe tomorrow or the next day. Daily time frame, bullish divergence on the RSI, very powerful signal right there. Right? We had bullish divergence over here, low here, higher low there. We had a very nice move as a result of that. Right, from a low to a high, that was a 32% move. I'm assuming we're going to get bigger results from this one. Bullish divergence on the stochastics, and no bullish divergence on the MACD. You kind of have it. I mean, to be fair, between the oscillators you do, but the oscillators are less powerful than the histogram itself. But you've got bullish divergence on your daily RSI and stochastics. You've got bullish divergence on your weekly stochastics and your MACD. The signs are there, right? The signs are there. I hope it's very obvious, and that's why, again, we're focusing on the weekly time frame so much, is that this is that moment. I feel like this is that moment right here where we were right here, where it seems like nothing's going for this thing at all, but then, boom, then all of a sudden a switch gets flipped, life is coming back, and it makes sense that we're doing one thing and one thing only, and that is seeing the extended targets of this move here from a high to a low. The expectation would be that we immediately go to 8.2 cents to 15.7 cents. Okay, immediately there. Probably dance around a little bit, whatever, and then continue to rally, going up to 26, 32 cents, continuing higher. Depending on how we interact with this zone will determine how fast we go to this area, how fast we go to this area, and this area here. We haven't done it yet, so we're just, it's just thoughts here, but depending on what we do, if we really do just rip right through all of this and go right up to 26 to 32 cents, we likely will consolidate here for a second and perhaps even pull back to 8 cents or 15.7 cents, something in this zone, and then continue to rally. If we do stop at 15 cents and we consolidate here, that's fine. Consolidating like that is fine. Typically, that means you go to the 2272 or the 2618 rather immediately after that. You can consolidate back down and then move up. It just depends, right? I think that we either have 2 moves left in us in this cycle, or we have 3 moves. It depends on how and where we consolidate. Overall, I really do expect that we're going to see prices above $1, $1.70, $2.60, somewhere in that area there. I doubt that we break too much above $2, but I still think that that's a possibility. And all that time, if you're doing things the right way, you could be staking and earning passive income as well. You guys, genuinely, if you have 1 million Onyx coins, you can get, I want to say it's like 800 or 900 tokens a day. If you've got 10 million, it's 8,000 to 9,000 tokens a day. 8,000 to 9,000 tokens a day. Imagine, even at 800 to 900 tokens a day, whenever this thing's worth $1, you're making $800 to $900 a day just passive. Let alone if you're doing 8,000 to 9,000. Let alone if you're doing more. There's some people that got more than 10 million Onyx coins, right? And you can make a lot of passive income just on that staking rewards, right? Not only right now at 1 cent, but whenever this thing goes up to $1, it's just going to be that much more. Time will tell. We'll see how it goes. We've got a lot of time left in this cycle. I very much believe that this cycle will end in April or May. That's my expectation. Could be earlier, could be later, but with that amount of time, we have more than enough time to see these kind of results happen. It just, we're at that kind of pinnacle moment right now where things need to start turning up. Bitcoin's moving up. The rest of the market's moving up. Altcoins sleepy, but it's going to wake up soon. And, well, if you're not in it now, don't ask me if it's a good time to get in it here, right? Because we've had an ample amount of good opportunities to get into this thing. Take care. I'll see you on the next one. Hit the like button, subscribe. Bye-bye. You see, I said bye-bye, and I clicked stop, but it didn't stop. But now, it's gonna wait.